Welcome to the Leadership Spark podcast, where we equip you to be the great leader your people deserve. This is Corey, and today we're going to continue our conversation about insights. If you were listening in yesterday, we defined what an insight is, and I'm going to recap that here in a second. But we also talked about how powerful it is as a leader when you have insights. You can make better decisions. I can make better decisions. I can go further faster. We together as a team can go further faster. And so insights is something that we need to elevate in our minds as leaders, as something that we need to obtain and obtain consistently and really fight for when it comes to the information that we have available to us to be able to look at and draw insight from. And so let me recap by telling you the definition again of what an insight is. And then today I'm going to share 5 things that happen whenever we don't have or don't use the insights that we have. And so a recap of the definition is this. We said an insight is a moment of sudden awareness or understanding that can lead to a significant change in perception, thinking, or behavior. It's something that happens to us, often called an aha moment, where we have this novel or unique or new understanding or awareness that drives us to do something different. It could be think differently, behave differently, make a different decision, but it's something that is a catalyst for some different thing happening around us or different decision that we're making. And so that's how we're defining insights as we go through this focus over the next few days. But there are some things that happen to you as a leader that you want to avoid if you can when you don't use or don't have insights. And so if you're in a situation where you don't have insights, and if you don't have insights, usually if you track that down, what that means is that maybe you're not asking the right questions or the root cause questions, or maybe you don't have access to information, or there's not a consistent way, even if you're asking the question, for the answer to that question to consistently get to you that would inform the way you think about it, that you could get and gain insight from. And so there are some consequences, maybe unintended in some ways, when you don't have or don't use insights. And I want to share these today because at the end of the day, some of these may resonate with you, but you want to avoid these. And the way that you avoid them is to fight for insight. Keep asking the questions, keep looking at the information and getting consistent information so that you can have those aha moments that drive a different decision. And so there are 5 things I want to talk about today that are the impacts of you not having or using insights. The first is this: we can make wrong decisions when we don't have insights. We can make wrong decisions. We can rely on assumptions. We can rely on opinions. We can rely on outdated data whenever we're making decisions, and it can lead us to have a wrong decision, which could impact people. It could impact projects. It could impact customers leaving. It could impact money being wasted when we make bad decisions as leaders. And we want to avoid that. And we can avoid it by having powerful insights at our fingertips that allow us to make better decisions. Number 2 is you could solve the wrong problem. And I've seen this a lot, to where we have a problem that we think we need to solve as leaders, and we invest all kind of energy into it. We burn a lot of calories trying to solve it, only to realize that it really wasn't the number one problem that we needed to solve. And so without insights, you can't spot the trends, you can't see the unmet needs, and you can't really see the emerging behavioral shifts that may be going on around you that would require a different decision. And so you could solve the wrong problem if you don't have insights. Number 3 is you can miss opportunities that are out there. So you can't, like I said earlier, you can't see the trends in what's happening around you or the emerging thoughts or emerging behaviors, to where you could actually miss an opportunity as a leader with your team or with your organization or outside of work, just because you don't have insights. And you see this all the time. Think about how many of you have a Nokia phone. Probably not a lot of you have a Nokia phone. Well, Nokia missed an opportunity in the smartphone space because they didn't realize through insight that smartphones were more about the ecosystem and the user experience, not the hardware. And they went down the wrong route. And most likely today, you have an iPhone, which is what we're recording this podcast on. Maybe you have a different kind of phone, but you probably don't have a Nokia. Maybe you do, but you can miss an opportunity. All right. 4th is this: you move really slow when you don't have insights. Even if you're making wrong decisions, which we talked about that, you're missing opportunities, you will move a lot slower. And how people make decisions and the speed at which a decision can be made could be paralyzed through either analysis paralysis, you have too much data, or you just don't have clarity and you can't make the wise decision. And so you can move really slowly. And the 5th one is this, which really I want to avoid at all costs, is you waste resources, you waste time, you waste people. people's time. You waste money whenever we don't have insights and we make bad decisions. We build things that we shouldn't build. We launch things that we shouldn't launch, that don't connect, that don't convert, that don't lead to the business outcomes that we want to see. And so we want to avoid that. And so as a leader, hopefully you see the need for insights, you see the power of insights, and you want to avoid making bad decisions and solving the wrong problems and missing opportunities and moving slowly and wasting resources. And the way that you can do that is to double down on getting consistent data, consistent information, asking the right questions, solving the right problems, and gaining insight from that allows you to go further, faster. So the go and do today is commit to insights. Do what you need to do to be able to get information that allows you to gain insight, and then use that to make your decisions so you avoid the 5 pitfalls that I shared today.